Welcome everyone to the Row by Row Garden Show, the best dead-gum gardening show on the radio and the internet as well. Glad to have you this evening, and we got a special guest in the house. We got Wes here from Naked Hog.
How's it going, guys?
Louisiana.
Yeah, Louisiana.
Southeast Louisiana.
Southeast Louisiana, yep.
Now you're not, you don't have, we was talking earlier, you don't have a Cajun dialect. You're not originally from Louisiana, but you are from Louisiana.
No, but I am originally from the South. So
Okay.
I grew up all over the South. My dad was in the military, so he was stationed mainly in the South. I was born in Alabama, so.
Okay.
Now, I'm not roll tide or anything.
Yeah,
so.
but you married a Louisiana girl.
I did marry a Louisiana girl.
So you've got that Cajun
that connection.
Yeah,
Oh,
connection
yeah.
there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Got the Cajun food going on.
Yeah. Naked Hog. How'd you come about that name?
You know, it was just because that was kind of the first thing we got. We went to go get, we decided we wanted some pigs. So we'd never really raised any animals. So we wanted some pigs. We were originally going to go get 2 feeder pigs. And when we went to go get those 2 feeder pigs, we came home with 6 pigs. So
which is normal.
Yeah. So then, you know, we were just kind of playing around with names and stuff. And we just, I don't know, we like the
Yeah, I
how
like
it felt,
it too.
the naked
Yeah,
hog,
naked
you know?
hog, yeah.
It's kind of naked, it take you back to your roots, you know?
I
liked it, yeah.
So we're going to kind of bounce around. We got a lot of stuff to cover this evening, and it's going to be really interesting because Wes kind of, although we do garden in the South, it's a little different what we have to deal with. Some of our issues we have to deal with, some of our problems we've overcame. So we're just going to bounce around about gardening. We got a couple of things we're going to press down on. But man, it's going to be an interesting show to understand. And we just, at the end of the show, I think you'll understand sometimes you got to do what works for you.
Yep, absolutely.
So, anyway.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's talk about, first of all, what is up in your garden?
You know, the story of my garden lately is rain and weeds. So we've gotten rain every day, I feel like.
For like weeks on end.
Yeah, months.
Yeah.
It's rare that we get a day without rain. And so, it causes problems because we can't get in to get the weeds out because the beds are so squishy. You can't just get in.
Now you have more of a redder type, you have a tighter soil than what I got here.
Yeah, so it definitely is. It's sand to clay, but it's a lot of clay.
Yeah.
So when it dries out, it sets up like a rock.
Right.
It doesn't drain. So underneath it's like solid clay. So that rain comes down and it just sits. So when you walk out there, you
causes weed problems.
Oh yeah.
Disease problems. Mm-hmm. Man, it can just be frustrating. We always do better in a dry year than we do a wet year.
Yep. And then when you get all those weed problems, it brings on more pests. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and you've battled some bacterial wilt.
Yeah, the tomatoes, the bacterial wilt, it has been horrible. Yeah, lost them all.
So we had a pretty good gardening year so far. So our spring gardening is wrapping up now. And it's been pretty good. We was dry. We was real dry for weeks on end. And you know, with our drip irrigation, it made things nice.
Yeah.
So we was able, now here at the end, we started getting rain after my corn harvest. I believe it's the first time I've grown sweet corn that didn't get blowed down. But I did not have the first thunderstorm come here and blow my sweet corn down. So everything was good there. Made a pretty decent crop. And then my watermelons came in and I had a real good crop. And then the rain set in day after day after day. You know, we had a little bit of disease set in on them, which is not that big of a deal, but the flavor of them wasn't as intense as what I like from them. But they wasn't as sweet. You'll always make a sweeter watermelon on a dry year than you would a wet year. So, you know, we have partaken in one of mine a little bit earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And it was sweet. So we've been without rain for the last 4 or 5 days. So the flavor of them is starting to come back a little bit. But those first ones I harvested, they were just so watery. And it's not the variety of watermelon. It's just the growing conditions. So I don't care what kind of watermelon you're growing. If you don't have those right conditions there, it can affect the sweetness of that watermelon tremendously.
Yep.
So always a dry year, we make sweeter watermelons than we do in a wet year. It's just nature. You got cantaloupes, melons, anything is that of that nature. So, I mean, in my garden, the sweet corn is gone. And one thing, a little tip here, and this is free to everyone. When that sweet corn is gone, get out there when those stalks are dry and mow it right then. They decompose so much better when those stalks are green, when they're green. Mow them when they're green and get them out of there quick, just as soon as you get through harvesting. And they decompose so much better than waiting until those stalks dry. When they dry out, man, they're hard to get rid of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they get hard.
So that's a good plan to go by there. Always get rid of them just as soon as you can. Heck, we can always plant something behind that. Corn's got all those nutrients there, so we can plant something right behind it.
Do you use drip tape under your corn?
I do.
You do?
Now I don't use drip tape under everything, but I always use drip tape underneath my watermelons and my corn. Always.
Yep.
It's just something I always do. Big pumpkin contest. We still got that rolling on. Update us a little bit on that.
My pumpkin's about this. My biggest one's about this big right now. So it's going to be this big.
Sure.
But right now it's about this big.
Yeah.
So
And how about the 4 kids, folks?
They're growing too. I don't think they have big ones yet either. Yeah.
We're all in the South. Most of us in the South are trying this thing, and we all struggle in the South with pumpkins.
Yep.
It can be problematic. I got some growing. I got my little secret weapon out there that I'm playing with out there. I can't let the secret out. We're gonna see how mine. I'm trying something a little different this year. I have failed miserably with giant pumpkins in the past. Now I actually do pretty good growing a regular pumpkin, but with giant pumpkins they are problematic for me.
Oh yeah. And Aaron with 4 Kids and Farm might actually have a little bit of advantage since they actually live over in California, so they got that little bit drier, a lot drier.
Right.
So they got that warm and dry, and they don't have quite the disease issues.
Oh yeah. They got a big advantage. Anything that's northern, I'm gonna say from 7 up on the East Coast has a huge advantage.
Yep.
Speaking of that, we're just going to move right on into the product of the week. Now, the product of the week is these 2 babies right here. So we got Garden Foss and Liquid Cop. Now, this time of the year, if you're growing winter squash, you're growing giant pumpkins, regular pumpkins, any kind of cucurbits, squash or anything growing into the fall, you're going to be faced with a disease called downy mildew. It's probably the worst one out there on cucurbits. So you need to be prepared that it's going to happen because it's just going to be there.
Yeah.
Now, what I do is I rotate on a tight 7-day schedule with the Garden Foss, and then the next week with the Liquid Cop, and that'll take care of those issues right there. The mildews, the powder and the downy. But the downy does more damage, I think, than the powdery does. Yeah. The powdery is pretty easy to notice, but that downy will jump on you and do some major damage before you know it.
Oh yeah.
So these are 2 exceptionally good fungicides for those conditions there, and plus you can tank mix these with any of our insecticides. So I always put an insecticide in there with it, but I wanted to highlight these 2 here because everybody, including me, needs to be focused on downy mildew at the moment, and that is a great spray schedule there. Like I said, I'm on a tight 7-day schedule on that.
Yep.
Every Sunday afternoon, that's what I do is I spray my squash in my garden with those right there. All right, and let's. You brought a watermelon?
I did bring a watermelon. I did. Now, I don't know.
Well, this is the way it rolls.
I mean, it's kind of. I don't know. I don't know how hollow it's supposed to sound, but
yeah. And what variety is it?
So this is the Dolce Fantasia. So it's gonna be a red meat watermelon, and so I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
If it ain't red.
So it's a hybrid variety.
It's a hybrid, yeah.
I mean, hybrid, it's not a hybrid variety, but it is a hybrid.
And they get about 25 pounds.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
It's
that
similar to the Crimson. Oh, it's nice and juicy. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Well, it could have stood just a little bit more. How about that?
It's, I mean, it ain't white.
It ain't white.
It ain't white.
Now, one thing that bothered me when I was looking at this, and it didn't have a yellow belly, and I was telling you before the show, you said you actually switched it around, and you thought that was the reason it wasn't because you moved it around. But that yellow belly, I can tell you, that and the curlicue, we talk about.
So the curlicue was dried, but they didn't have that yellow belly.
And the yellow belly is 2 things that I always look at there. And we're going to partake in it anyway.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating when you pick one that's not ripe like it ought to. And I do this. I do it every year on my first ones because I get a little carried away.
Surprisingly sweeter than I thought it was going to be.
That is real sweet. That's sweeter than mine is.
So that's I didn't expect that.
Man, that is real sweet. That's unusual.
That's actually pretty good.
Everybody will excuse us just for a moment here. I got to have seconds on that one. That's amazing right there. I may have to grow that one next year.
Not a real strong watermelon flavor that I get out of it. Just a lot of.
No, but it's sweet. It's sweet.
Yep.
And for it to be that sweet, the amount of rain you had, that's pretty amazing. Yep. All right, we'll set this to the
That's
side
really
because
good.
I think after a while we may have to finish that one off right there.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Let's clean that up.
Dang.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little dirty gardening, okay? So I've noticed on some of your videos that you've done something that I've been meaning to do, and that's your germination chamber. Talk to us about that a little, because germination chamber is something that's important.
Yep.
And I mean, we use the heat mats, which work fine, but you need that humidity sometimes to make these things pop. And you made a DIY germination chamber, and kind of walk us through how you did it and then the results you've seen off of it.
So really kind of the reason that we started that we wanted to do it was because we've had problems germinating peppers in the past. And for us, I don't know why, peppers have just been really hard for us to get.
Peppers are hard for everybody.
So we actually got the idea when we came out, talked to you last time I was out here, and you mentioned germination chamber. So we did some looking and picked up an old freezer.
Yep.
And it just one. It actually worked, but ideally you just get one that doesn't work. You probably get
those,
free.
Yeah. Well, everybody's got them sitting out next to the road in this part of the world anyway.
Yep. So picked up a small chest freezer, and then we put a little crock pot. I don't know, maybe. Not even a quart, like half a quart crock pot. One of those just little ones. Doesn't even have a dial on it. You just plug it in.
Fill it with water.
Fill it with water. And then I used a cheap thermostat from that comes with a germination mat. Like it was just a cheap one, right? Because I didn't know if it was going to work or not. So plugged the crock pot into the thermostat, and then plugged the thermostat in. Then we used the 162 cell trays.
Yep.
Filled them with dirt.
Yep.
Put the seeds in, we use perlite on the top, and then we wrap it in saran wrap, just some plastic wrap. Stick the soil probe from the germination, or from the thermostat into the soil, stick it in there, and just leave it. And so we get the results we've seen. We've gotten peppers that germinate in about 4 days. Then we get some tomatoes or tomatillos germinate in less than a day.
Well, you know, the hot peppers is the one that really seems to be, and you brought me one.
Yep.
Peppers.
So these things, these Carolina Reapers, these germinated in roughly a week. We got germination on these. So I was really impressed.
Yeah.
I was really impressed and not just the quickness, but the amount of germination. So we got nearly 100% germination on everything we put into the germination chamber. Asparagus is supposed to take 21 days to germinate, and ours germinated in a week.
Wow.
So I was amazed, but yeah, that's gonna be good for you.
Yeah, it is. I'm looking forward to that. We may even have to do a taste testing.
That's gonna be good.
So I got a few peppers here that I've grown, and I thought we may just test them here a little bit. Do you like peppers?
Oh yeah.
You know, peppers are one of those things that I normally grow several varieties of. Now, I may just grow 3 or 4, or at the most 3 or 4 tomatoes, but I'll grow a lot of different peppers because peppers, to me, can be used in so many different ways. Now, what we've got right here is this is the gypsy pepper.
How big does this plant get?
It doesn't get very big at all. In fact, it'd be ideal for containers.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
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 That's real fruity.
It is fruity,
flavor.
and it's got a little heat to it. Yeah.
Yep, that's good.
Yeah, that is good. So you...
A little too much heat?
Well, you from Louisiana, don't bother you as much.
I don't know how these Carolina Reapers are going to go over.
May have to put some butter on them. How about that? So, the germination chamber, what does it cost to build those things?
So,
I mean, really?
So we spent $0 on the chest freezer. We spent, I don't know, $5 getting a crock pot from the thrift store. We just went to, I think it was Goodwill. We went and got a little $5 crock pot. And then, of course, we bought the thermostat, which we actually didn't use the thermostat at first. At first, we were just monitoring the temperature, and we plugged it in, unplugged it as we needed to, which was okay, but thermostat does make it nice. But you can pick those up for like $20. You know, those little, you just need a cheap thermostat. And then, of course, the seed trays, which I love those 162 cell and 338 cell trays. They fit perfectly in that chest freezer.
All the commercial guys use germination chambers, all of them. Now this is the right on red.
Ooh, I like that. That's cute.
Now this is a pimento style pepper, which is wonderful for stuffing. This is probably, now as we get through today, you'll find out I probably got 2 favorites. This is one of my favorites right here. I love the pimento flavor, but I also love the way I got you right here.
All right.
I also love the way the plant is, so you can set that on the grill there. You don't have to move it around. You can just set it there on that flat bottom there, and it works great for.
Nice.
These just have good flavor to me.
Yep. Sweet. It's good.
Pimento style.
Yep, I like that.
All right. Let's see what else we got here. Cuban nail. Cuban nails are not my favorite, but I also love Cuban nails. Now, what's your favorite pepper?
You know, I don't know that I have a favorite. Everything except bell peppers is my favorite.
I just don't like bell peppers.
Yeah,
I don't either. It's just I don't know if it's the taste in there, just bell peppers are not my thing. Yep. And I guess bell peppers are probably the favorite pepper out there, or the most popular.
I think it's just because people haven't tried other peppers.
Now, this one also does well for stuffing, and we do a lot of stuffed peppers right here.
What do you stuff them with?
We take sausage and cream cheese. We brown the sausage, and we mix it in with cream cheese, onions, and garlic. We saute all that, mix it all together, and stuff it. Then we put some cheese on top.
That's good.
It's not a real hot pepper, but it's packed full of flavor. Would you say, Cubanelle?
Yeah, I like it. That'd be a really good stuffing pepper. Yeah, it is.
All right. And how about the cinder? Do you grow the jalapenos this year?
I did.
Which variety did you grow? You remember?
Those ones, cinder.
Cinder. Those make a nice blocky. I'm talking about a nice blocky jalapeno. Now, jalapenos to me, we do stuff some of those, but it's not a good stuffing pepper to me. I like this as an addition to, use it as a spice.
Yeah, the problem with, a lot of people stuff their jalapenos, but you can't get a lot of stuffing in there.
No.
So, I mean.
I'm going to get me another slice here. I don't want the bottom there.
That's good. Yep. Now, my 12-year-old daughter, she doesn't like jalapenos. I don't know why. She likes other peppers. She'll eat a banana pepper, and she doesn't mind spicy stuff, but she won't eat a jalapeno.
It's got a little heat to it there. Would you say?
A little bit.
A little bit. Whew, I tell you, you one of those guys. You can take some heat, can't you?
We went to dinner with some friends the other night, and he had cayenne peppers that he just gave me with dinner to eat with it. So it was good.
Woo, okay.
A little bit of that watermelon might help too.
Yeah. All right. Now here's my other favorite. A lot of people, this pepper here is not widely grown. Oh, excuse me. Not widely grown at all. Poblano.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Now
we got some of those growing too.
Oh, I love this pepper here. This and the pimento is my two favorites right here. Now the poblano is, a lot of people use them in the Mexican dish where they, what do you call it? What do you call that when they flour them and stuff them full of cheese?
I can't remember what it's called. I know what you're talking about. I can't remember what it's called though.
It's used like that, but we take them and stuff them.
And then when they dry it, it's then the ancho chili.
Right.
Same thing.
I've never done that, but yeah, you had to sun dry them, don't you?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So this one here to me has just a little bit of heat, but what I really enjoy about it is the flavor of the poblano.
Yep. It doesn't have that. Poblanos don't get that. I don't know how to describe that pepper taste. Like there's almost like a bitterness to most peppers, and this poblanos to me don't have that.
Right. And yet they don't have that wang that the bells have. All right, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty on peppers here. Oh yeah. This is another one of the pimento type here. We need to follow that jalapeno with a sweet pepper. Now this one hadn't turned completely orange, but it's part of the series there as the Right on Red. I think this is the orangey sweet.
Orangey sweet, yep.
Yep, that's right. Should have the same flavor profile, however, it's going to have a different color to it. So if you want to look at doing some colorful dishes, this would be a good one to add to that.
These would be good planter ones, right? These would be good to planter.
Absolutely.
Oh,
now that's
sweet.
A sweet pepper.
Wow.
Wow, that's a lot sweeter than that one. I didn't realize the flavor was going to be different. I thought it was going to be the same. Is that not weird or what?
Yeah,
that's almost fruity.
It's almost like putting a sweet cherry tomato or something in your mouth.
Yeah.
Like it bursts with sugar.
Packed full of seeds. Look at there.
That was good.
So last but not least.
Feeling better?
I'm dreading this one.
Oh, no.
I'm dreading this one. Anytime that they're wrinkled up like that, that's dangerous right there. What we have here, folks, is the habanero pepper.
Woo.
Yep. I thought you may be a little concerned, but after seeing your reaction so far, I think you are a pretty good. I don't think peppers scare you a whole lot. All right. You think I better get them seeds out of there just for the heck of it?
It wouldn't hurt to try them.
No, not yet. Now, have you ever eaten these? Now, I'm gonna tell you. To me, this makes the best pepper jelly. There's something about that habanero flavor to me. I've had it with pineapple pepper jelly before, off the chain.
Now, for folks that don't want the heat, you guys have a heatless habanero too, that just want the flavor.
And that's what we're eating. So this is the heatless variety because I couldn't pull off the other one. I had access to some of the other ones, and I said, no, I just can't do it.
Can't do it, huh?
But this is the heatless, which has no heat to it whatsoever, habanero. Now, I know people's going to think this is strange. And if you want to play a prank on somebody, it'd be a good one to do it on. It's a habanero is what it is, but somehow or another they have bred the heat out of it. Now that would make, if you could figure out, it's not shaped well for a stuffing pepper. I guess you could split it in half, but now that would make a good stuffer right there.
That's really good flavor.
But it has a unique flavor to it. To me, it has that habanero flavor without the heat.
That really tells you, it shows you why habaneros are so good though.
Yep.
Even though they're so hot, because you get all that flavor. That's really good.
That is good, and I'm glad that worked out for the best, sir. Because I was looking for my wife because she knew what I was going to do and was going to switch those out on us. And that would have been problematic. All right, so let's talk about. So we talked about the germination. Let's talk about some beginner gardening tips because you're more of a seasoned gardener like I am, been around for a while. So let's talk about beginner gardeners. What advice would you give beginner gardeners starting out?
I think the best advice I would give a beginner gardener is to just do it. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like kind of a
cliche.
Yeah, but really that's the biggest thing. So many people quit. They'll plant something, they'll put a tomato in the ground, it dies, and then they stop. Just plant. It's really not as hard as you think. Plant something that's gonna do well for you, like okra, cucumbers, things that are simple. Yeah, summer squash. Yeah.
I did a video on my corn the other day, and I mentioned in there I don't believe corn's a crop for a beginner gardener.
Nope, definitely not.
So, and some people kind of commented on that and didn't think I was telling the truth, but I think corn is something you should get a little bit under your belt before you move on to that. Now, one of the biggest problems I've seen, I've talked about some other issues, but this is one I'm going to kind of narrow in today, beginner gardening. You got those people out there, and you probably got a brother-in-law that's like this, because we all got this brother-in-law that's like this. He can't do anything unless he goes full-fledged into it. He's got to research it to the end. He's got to buy everything he could possibly need. He's the gearhead on top of that. But he researches everything until it just confuses him so much in his head. And I call those the overachievers. Those kind of people like that really get confused because YouTube has so much massive information out there about gardening. Those guys get confused. They get confounded. Is that a word? Confounded.
Yep. It is. If it isn't, it is today.
And they get overwhelmed and they can't do anything. So the whole thing is, like you said, you just got to do it. You got to do a little planning. I mean, you can't plant summer squash in the wintertime. So there's a little planning there you got to be doing. But you cannot overthink it.
I'll tell you a secret. I was an overachiever when I started.
Was you?
I was, and that was one of the biggest hangups.
You're one of those guys.
I am one of those guys. My wife actually is the one who helped push me, and she still does. She keeps me moving forward, so I don't get hung up down in the nitty gritty.
Right.
Yeah. Because if you do that, if you get hung up down there, you'll never
get
nothing grown.
Right.
Ever. Yeah. So sometimes you just got to do it, and you learn from your mistakes. You fail forward.
Yep. Be willing to try new things. Just like and we cover this topic a lot, and I feel like it's just so important. Don't fall into a trap of one size fits all. I mean, it's just like your garden. We may have similar growing environment, But our growing conditions are different. Yep. I mean, you grow in a different type of soil than I do. People ask all the time, how long do I need my drip? You're going to have to run your drip tape shorter. I'm going to have to run mine longer than what you are, yours, because we got different kind of soils, and it's going to retain that water better than mine. My sandy soils, it's just going to leave there.
Even the weather's different. I don't remember last time I turned my drip tape on. It's been a while.
Right.
I haven't watered.
Right. I mean, you could have different disease pressure. You could have different.
Yep.
You could have more. If you're in a coastal area, you could have a lot more wind, so you might not have as much disease pressure, or you may have more.
Yep.
So there's all, and this back to Eden thing and all that. I see this all the time on these gardening groups, and I just don't think it works well down in the south. I mean, up in the north, Alaska, and I've never been to Alaska, but if that works up there in Oregon, so be it. But it just doesn't. I don't see it working down here in the south.
Now I have a friend in Indiana who uses back to Eden, and it works. He sends me pictures of his garden, and it works wonders. It's amazing. Like, beautiful garden, but he's in Indiana.
And they have a lot higher organic matter in their soil than what we do.
Yep, and they have a lot less red ants.
Yep. So, don't get caught up in this, we got to do it this way, got to do it this way. Probably the best thing is find somebody locally that's successful at gardening and kind of follow their lead a little bit. You got a mentor in your area that you kind of follow a little bit on gardening or not?
You.
Well, that's good. I'm talking about anybody local though.
No, I don't. No.
You're the guy. You're the guy.
It's surprising how many people don't really grow a garden around. Like, we drive around and we'll see gardens in some places in the backyards, but there's not as many people as you would think out in the country in Louisiana that grow in a garden.
Really?
Yeah.
Alabama's a huge garden state.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think it's important for people should grow a garden?
I think there's a lot of reasons, but I think for me, when we were young and first starting out married, growing a little garden on the side, when we grew our first garden, it was about, I don't know, like 20 foot by 10 foot. It wasn't that big. Yeah. And it was just on the side of our house. We lived in a city, and for us, we were broke. So growing that garden for us was security. Mm-hmm. And we grew tomatoes, okra, eggplant, and squash.
You said broke.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've been there doing that.
And that's what we ate. Yeah. Like, we ate that.
Right.
Other than the staples, that's what we ate. Right. We ate that. So
it was a necessity for you.
Yeah, it was a necessity. And I think not enough people understand, even if they're not broke, but what that can do for them, So
yeah, especially in the climate that we are today. We have found out within the last year how important it can be to be more self-sustainable. And just talk about the kids. Talk about, bringing kids up in that type of lifestyle.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It's amazing when you see that first look of wonder when a kid walks out and they see all these like cherry tomatoes out there. Mm-hmm. We had some friends come over the other day to the garden, and they were just kind of looking. She does a little backyard garden down at her house. She lives down in the city, and she comes out to kind of when she wants to feel inspired. So she comes out, brings her kids, and her kids see all these sun gold tomatoes grown, which is a great variety, and they just look at me like, wanting to know, can they pick? And when you tell them yes, their face just, they light up. They love it. Yeah. Like, they love picking.
Right.
Oh, just, and one of them said to me while I was there, he's like, or while they're there, said, hey, do you guys, you grow all this? Like, this is a lot of food. That's amazing. He was amazed that he saw where his food was coming from. He was like, just putting those connections together.
We get phone calls all the time. People talk about, and a lot of times it's older people that have grandkids or whatever, and they talk about how gardening brings them together somewhat. So it's a great feeling when people tell you that because you understand exactly what they're talking about. It gives them quality time to spend with their grandchildren or their children out in the garden and teach them something on the side. So it's a good hobby to have as far as that goes. Now you've tried. You kind of remind me of myself a little bit because you try some new things all the time.
Yep.
So you trying some intercropping this year?
Yeah, so companion planting. Yep. So we have I guess you could say 2 beds where we're trying it in. So we've got one of our okra beds. We have okra, peppers, basil, and roselle. Wow. And so we have what we have planted in the first 6 rows. We've got okra, and then 12 inches over, we got basil, and then 12 more inches over, we've got a pepper. And so everything is a foot apart, and I'm going to tell you, it has been awesome.
Now, what's the reasoning behind that?
So
it's just to pack more in there?
So 2 things. The basil is really because, in theory, from what I've read, it helps control pests. It helps kind of keep pests away.
So it's a repellent?
Yeah, okay. It's a repellent. And then we eat a lot of basil anyway. So the other side of that is, like you said, it's to pack more in there. And our okra hasn't slacked off at all. But on top of the okra that we're picking, now we're picking peppers and basil as well. We had 5 pounds of basil. We went out, we just cut them all off, took them in, freeze dried it. Oh.
Now, intercropping has been around for a long time. You do it for a reason. And it could be for several different reasons, to get more production off a particular area.
Yep.
Or you can do it as a trap crop where you put another variety in there to take some insect pressure off from another crop. The first crop that I ever remember intercropping, and this goes beyond my time, this is the old timers telling me about. Have you ever seen one of these coal mule drawn planters? And they got the 2 hoppers on them?
Yep.
Well, those was made specifically to intercrop velvet beans in with corn.
Wow.
So you put corn side on one side, and the other side you put velvet beans in. And when you planted that row, in the same row, you was planting velvet beans and corn. Well, it worked well back then because they would go out there and by hand they would pull the cob off. And then that velvet bean used that corn as a trellis to grow up on, and they would turn the livestock in once the velvet bean got mature, and the livestock would salvage, or they would go in there and eat what little bit corn was left, and they would eat the velvet beans.
Yeah.
So intercropping has been around for a long, long time.
Yep.
Now it's touchy because I've done a lot of work with it, and some things not really work well for me. And a lot of people, if you go on the internet, they spend a lot of research done on intercropping. It is a touchy thing because there's so much that goes in there that you got to be successful with. And it can be tough. I tried planting clover one time and leaving me some little strips out. And I was going to plant my watermelons in those little strips, and I was going to let the clover in my middles die back. It sounds like a wonderful idea.
Yep.
But it didn't work because I couldn't get rid of the clover. Extinguishing some of these intercroppings at the right time can be problematic.
So that kind of, goes into the second bed that we have planted, and that is our peppers. So our main pepper bed, it's about a 2,000 square foot bed, and we've got
2,000 square foot of peppers?
Yep. There's 14 40-foot rows.
Wow.
So there's sorghum Sudan grass planted in between the rows of peppers, and we just mow it down.
So what was the reason behind the sorghum?
So our garden beds are pretty new, and so they're really lacking in organic matter. There's a ton of clay. We need to work that soil. And so what my thought was, I don't want to have to not plant these beds because I need to cover crop them for a year first. And so I'm trying to get the benefit of the cover crop in addition to still getting a harvest from it. And so what we do when we mow it, we then take the clippings and we put it down the row of peppers in between.
Okay,
so that keeps then that keeps the weeds down as well.
Wow.
Now the only big thing I've had that I've been concerned about is that sorghum Sudan grass sucks up some of that nitrogen. So it's going to use up a lot of those nutrients. So we have to fertilize more to make sure that the peppers get what they need.
Now you have drip tape down there? Okay.
Yep.
But you hadn't needed it because you had
so that we had the side dress.
Double-edged sword, with intercropping, it can be, there's a lot of trial and error there, and you have to learn, you have to kind of move what works and kind of get away from what doesn't work, because you'll find some things that didn't work well like you thought they would. That's been my experience in the past.
Yep.
Now, one thing a lot of people do with intercropping is with their bell peppers, they will use hot cherried peppers in with their bell peppers, and what that does is that helps with the pepper magnet.
Yep.
So that hot cherry tomato will take the magnet. It's a trap crop, so it'll take it away from the bells, and the bells you can harvest those. Another one, and this is we've known this for a long time. Vine borers. I've had some trouble with them, especially this time of year. But this is one you can do there with yellow summer squash. You could plant yellow summer squash, and you could have you some Hubbard squash, which is a winter squash close by, and those vine borers will migrate more to the Hubbard squash and leave your summer squash alone.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's one of the best trap crops out there is the Hubbard squash. You just kind of extinguish it. You don't get
You're
much.
not going to get anything.
You don't get anything.
Yeah, but that's okay because you don't get your.
Another one, and this is good because we're going to be going into the fall season for long. Mustards.
Oh,
Mustards are a great trap crop for collards and for cabbage and things like that. And what they'll do is they'll take the flea beetles and the diamondback moth away from the other crops. So you can plant them in there. The red mustard works well, or just regular broadleaf mustard. So
interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that either. That's good.
Yep.
Good.
Another thing you probably did not know is our corny joke of the week.
I did not.
Yep. No. So how did the farmer catch his wife?
How did he catch her?
He tracked her down. You get that? Tractor. Yeah, he tracked her down. Yeah.
Tractor.
Yeah, feel free to use that any way you like to. That's free to everybody out there. Good corny joke of the week.
I think if someone is not on good terms with their wife, they need to stick to zinnias.
Zinnia. That's probably so.
Yeah.
Another thing you can do, and this is getting away from intercropping a little bit, you can do border planting. Now, border planting is when you plant a crop on the outside of a particular crop that will help with pests also. And buckwheat, you can plant buckwheat, and it will attract stink bugs and also the beneficials. So it'll take some of the stink bug pressure away from your okra and your tomatoes, because we have a lot of stink bug pressure on those two. So it'll take it away. And, the buckwheat's also a great one for pollinators.
And it kicks up quick, too.
And it kicks up quick. It's one of my favorite cover crops. Another one that I really didn't know about until I read about this, but I got to try this, squash bugs. Everybody has trouble with squash bugs late in the season. Man, they can be horrendous. Plant millet as an outside trap crop. Trap crop. So plant millet on the outside of there, and it'll pull those squash bugs into there, and leave your precious squash. Yep. So these are all kind of things you can experiment with there as far as intercropping and border planting. A lot of people are planting marigolds for years or so.
Oh yeah.
In the garden for that. So maybe we've helped somebody a little bit today.
I hope so. I hope we have.
Yeah. So there you have it, folks. We're gonna wrap it up here, but we're proud to have you, Wes. It was good to have you on the show.
Thank you.
And we're gonna post your link up there again. So you got a great YouTube channel, Gardening in Louisiana. Everybody can go on there and check it out. Find out maybe some tips and tricks that'll help them be more successful growing their own food. How about that?
I hope so.
All right. So here you have it, folks. Get out there and get dirty.